You're watching Vihaba News. This is our series of providing the latest updated news on the agriculture sector, not just in Vietnam but also in the world. Here are the headlines today. The first part concerning the global cashew market. The global cashew market is projected to register a compound annual growth rate of 4.6% during the period 2021 to 2026. The global cashew industry has grown rapidly over the last decade, driven by the increasing consumption of cashew nuts around the world. However, the COVID-19 has had a direct and adverse impact on the global cashew nut market, especially the distribution channel. The Netherlands is the largest importer of cashew nuts in Europe. The Netherlands is the largest importer of cashew nuts in Europe, accounting for more than 40% of the region's total imports. The growing consumption of cashew nut in the Netherlands is driven by the healthy snack trend and usage of nuts as a substitute for animal proteins. Ivory Coast aims to triple cashew nut processing by 2022. Top cashew producer Ivory Coast is to open 3 new processing plants with the aim of tripling its output of shelled nuts by next year. Thanks to a bumper crop, Ivory Coast raw cashew production has increased to a record. The second part concerning the Vietnamese cashew nut markets. Exporting Vietnamese cashew nut in the first 9 months of 2021. In the first 9 months of the year, Vietnam's cashew nut export grew strongly, both volume and value, with the top 3 main consuming markets are the US, China, and the Netherlands. Vietnam's cashew export expanded to many key markets. From the beginning of the year until now, Vietnam's cashew export to most of the main markets have increased sharply, notably in the markets of UAE, Switzerland, and Japan. Difficulties in the lack of empty containers and solution in exporting Vietnamese cashews. The shortage of empty containers is likely to continue in the coming months, leading to high freight rates, which are expected to last until 2022. Expanding the form of transport will help Vietnamese enterprises accelerate their export progress. The global cashew nut market is suffering from many direct and adverse impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. However, the cashew market is forecasted to continue to grow in the coming years due to increased consumption demand. The world's leading cashew nut producing countries such as Vietnam, Ivory Coast have shown positive signs of growth in production output and exports. On the other hand, in Vietnam, export prices of cashew nuts are being affected by the shortage of empty containers. Global cashew nut markets. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused many impacts of the global cashew nut market. However, the global cashew market is projected to register a compound annual growth rate of 4.6% during the forecast period of 2021 to 2026. The Netherlands is the largest importer of cashew nuts in Europe. To take advantage of the potential of the market, Ivory Coast aims to triple cashew nut processing by 2022 to export large quantities of high-quality cashew kernels to these demanding markets. Global cashew market is projected to register a compound annual growth rate of 4.6% during the period of 2021 to 2026. According to research by Model Intelligence, the global cashew market is projected to register a compound annual growth rate of 4.6% during the forecast period of 2021 to 2026. And the demand for raw cashews is forecasted to continue growing at annual rate of 4.27% during the period of 2020 to 2025. It is expected to reach almost 7 billion USD by 2025. The global cashew industry has grown rapidly over the last decade, driven by the increasing consumption of cashew nuts around the world. The growing demand for cashew nuts around the world, particularly in developed and emerging economies, is driven by a number of factors. They include recognition of their health, nutritional benefits, and the growth in plant-based diets. There is a global trend that looks favorably at vegan and plant-based diets. People who embrace a plant-based vegan diet prioritize alternative sources of protein instead of those derived from animals, resulting in the soaring demand for nuts and nut-infused foods. However, COVID-19 had a direct and unfavorable impact on the global cashew market. Global lockdowns to curb and contain the pandemic adversely affected the distribution channels. Value addition activities were affected as a disrupted distribution channel lowered the availability of end products of cashew nuts in the market. The Netherlands is the largest importer of cashew nuts in Europe. Also, in the growing trend of global cashew nut market, the Netherlands, the largest cashew importer in Europe, is also expected to grow positively. The Netherlands is the largest importer of cashew nuts in Europe, accounting for more than 40% of the region's total imports. Globally, the country accounts for 10% of total trade. The Dutch cashew nut market is expected to achieve an average growth rate of 3.2% in the period 2020 to 2025. According to Eurostat, in the first 7 months of 2021, the Netherlands imported 35.4 thousand tons of cashew nuts worth 205.62 million euros, equivalent to 238.52 million USD, up 2.1% in value, but down 9.4% in value over the same period of 2020. In the first 7 months of this year, the Netherlands increased its imports of cashews from Vietnam and the Ivory Coast, but decreased imports from India and Brazil, in which Vietnam cashew nut market share accounts for 82.29%. The growing consumption of cashew nut in the Netherlands is driven by the healthy snacking trend and usage of nuts as a substitute for animal proteins. According to INC, the Netherlands is the fourth highest per capita consumer of cashew nut in Europe after Germany, the United Kingdom, and France. Per capita consumption in the Netherlands is estimated to fluctuate between 0.7 to 1.7 kg per year. In addition, the Netherlands plays an important role as a trade hub in Europe, as around 70% of all imported cashew nut kernels are re-exported to other European countries. Ivory Coast aims to triple cashew nut processing by 2022. To be able to increase access to these potential markets, especially fastidious markets such as the US, Europe, Ivory Coast has set a target to triple cashew nut processing by 2022. Top cashew producer in Ivory Coast is opened 3 new processing plants with the aim of tripling its output of shell nuts by next year. Its Cotton Cashew Council said Tuesday. According to the agribusiness sites of Bravo, Yamoussoukro, and Mondulkiro, aim to process 300,000 tons annually from 2022. These new facilities should boost the domestic processing rate from 10 to 30 or 40%. Ivory Coast, which counts some 250,000 cashew producers organized into around 20 cooperatives, ultimately hopes to sell half its cashew nuts by 2025. Thanks to a bumper crop, Ivory Coast raw cashew production has increased to a record. The African country last year produced a record 1 million tons of nuts, up from 850,000 tons in 2019. However, because of the shortage of cashew processing factories, just 10% have been so far have been processed domestically. Raw cashew of the Ivory Coast are mainly exported to Vietnam, India for processing into quality cashew nut kernels. Ivory Coast aims to process more of its own crop for sale in the huge American market. Until now, most cashew nuts have been sold abroad, then shipped to the US at an exorbitant cost. This is why Ivory Coast set an ambitious target of self-processing 3,100 tons annually from 2022 to export large quantities of high-quality cashew kernels to these demanding markets. The second part concerning the Vietnamese cashew nut market. Vietnam is a leading country in the production and export of cashew nuts to many major markets. Despite facing many difficulties due to the COVID-19 pandemic, cashew nut export in the first 9 months of this year still grew well in both volume and value. Especially Vietnam's cashew exports expand to many key markets. In addition to export opportunities, there are difficulties in the lack of empty containers. Exporting Vietnamese cashew nut in the first 9 months of 2021. According to statistics of the General Department of Customs, in the first 9 months of 2021, the whole country exported 427,300 tons of cashew nut, earning nearly 2.66 million USD. The average price is around 6,322 USD per ton, up 11.2% in volume and an increase of 11% in turnover, but a decrease of 1.8% in price compared to the same period in 2020. Particularly in September 2021, cashew exports increased by 8.9% in both volume, 9.2% in turnover, and 0.3% in price compared to the previous month, reaching 51,287 tons, equivalent to 341.11 million USD. Price is 6,651 USD per ton. In the first 9 months of 2021, Vietnam exports cashew nuts to the top 3 main consuming markets, which are the US, China, the Netherlands, with the following figures. Export to the US reached 233.70 tons, equivalent to 777.29 million USD. Price at 5,841.2 USD per ton, up 9.7% in volume, up 0.5% in turnover, but down 8% in price over the same period of last year, 2020, accounting for 31% of the total volume and 29.2% of the total cashew nut export turnover of the country. About China, export to China increased by 29.2% in volume, 51.7% in turnover, and 11.4% in price over the same period in 2020, reaching 59,988 tons, equivalent to 443.57 USD million, priced at 7,341.11 $394 per ton, accounting for 40% of the total volume and 16.7% of the total cashew export turnover of the country. And the third one, the Netherlands markets. Export to the Dutch market increased by 50.2% in volume, but decreased by 2.9% in turnover and decreased by 11.8% in price over the same period in 2020, reaching 53,072 tons, equivalent to $290.75 million, priced at $5,478 per ton, accounting for 12.4% of the total volume and 11.9% of the total cashew export turnover of the country. Vietnam's cashew export expand to many key markets. From the beginning of the year until now, Vietnam's cashew export to most of the main markets have increased sharply. Notably, in the markets of UAE, Switzerland, Russia, Japan, and France, in particular, export to UAE, Switzerland, and Japan markets have shown positive signs. According to the Vietnam Trade Office in the UAE concurrently quota, in the first 7 months of 2021, Vietnam's cashew export to the UAE reached approximately $23 million, up 200% over the same period last year. This is the best growth rate item among Vietnamese products exported to this Western Asian market. According to the International Trade Center, Switzerland's cashew imports of Vietnam in the first 6 months of 2021 reached 777 tons, valued at $6.52 million, up 40.4% in volume and 33% and 6% in value compared to the first 6 months of 2020. Vietnam's cashew market share in total Swiss imports increased from 38.58% in the first 6 months of 2021 to 53.16% in the first 6 months of 2021. Thus, Vietnam cashew nuts are having a great competitive advantage in the Swiss market. Japan is tending to switch from importing Indian cashew nuts to importing Vietnamese cashews. In the first 5 months of 2021, Japan increased its imports of cashew from Vietnam, an increase of 4.5%, reaching $12.92 million. Vietnam's cashew market share in Japan's total import value accounted for 38.97% in the first 5 months of 2021, higher than 33.9% in the first 9 months of 2020. Difficulties in the lack of empty containers and solution in exporting Vietnamese cashew. Also, Vietnam's cashew have the potential to expand export to many major markets. Vietnamese businesses are facing difficulties in the shipping process due to the lack of empty containers. In the complicated context of the fourth COVID-19 wave, Vietnam's cashew industry has faced difficulties in the short term. The tightening of social distancing measures has significantly affected the production and transportation of cashew nut in Vietnam. The shortage of empty containers is likely to continue in the coming months, leading to high freight rates, which are expected to last until 2022. High freight rates make it difficult for Vietnam's cashew prices to compete with India and Brazil. Faced with this solution, Vietnamese cashew industry needs to focus on exploiting markets in Asia such as China, Japan, and some niche markets of the EU. Expanding the form of transport will help Vietnamese enterprises accelerate their export progress. Recently, a direct container train from Hanoi to Belgium marked the opening of more transport routes deep into the interior of Europe, making Vietnam's goods circulation more convenient. That is it for Vihaba News here on Vihaba channel. Do stay with us because we will have many upcoming weekly news on the agricultural sector. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to find more news. Thank you for watching Vihaba News. See you soon. Bye.